On this episode, as of this recording, this is the day after 9/11. Obviously, there has been a lot of tributes and remembrance of what happened 18 years ago in 9/11. And on this episode, we're going to remember 9/12 because although there was plenty of hashtags never forget, one thing I think we have definitely forgotten as far as how we were at 9/12. And I mean, it's very obvious to see as far as politics go and everything. And especially just considering the fact that you got people in Hong Kong out here fighting for the things that it seems like we as a country now are steadily fighting to get rid of.
From the highways of America, here's the podcast where we talk politics, a little entertainment, some culture, and this and that, from the road to your ears. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
And welcome to another episode of Trend Chat. I am your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Snapchat, or TikTok. It's all the same name at Trend Chat 24/7. Yeah, so as I mentioned in the intro, we'll be talking about just kind of reflecting a bit on not only 9/11, but also, like I said, we're recording today on 9/12 of 2019, of course, and just wanted to mention a couple of things because, as I said in the beginning, we talked about as far as yesterday, everyone remembering 9/11 and as far as the attacks on the Twin Towers in DC, and like I said, there was a lot of hashtag never forget, and of course we should never forget what happened on 9/11. But I know one thing we definitely have forgotten how we were. Definitely forgotten 9/12. Put it that way, and because if you don't remember, I mean, there's probably a good number of people that are listening weren't even born. Just consider that, let alone have any real memories as far as what happened in 9/12. But I mean, that was the day, the beginning of, I don't remember how long this lasted, but everybody came together as a nation. We didn't care about race and all that. I mean, at least for a period of time, we were probably as unified as ever. At that time, I mean, churches was filled to the back of the church, regardless of where you were, that Sunday. And yeah, there was a great sense of unity in the country. Like I said, we definitely have forgotten that part. But I haven't mentioned, we'll have a returning guest later on, Antonia Okafor, and she'll be back after it's been a while since we spoke with Antonia, because I think, well, this would be probably maybe the fourth interview. So if this is your first time listening, one, I appreciate you listening. But if you want to hear the previous interviews, it's funny, whenever I talk about having a previous guest, and I think about maybe I should have, got maybe should have written down the the episode so I can mention it in the podcast. Then I forget about it until I start talking, and then next thing I know, now like, well, I don't have it on top of my head and have to go back and look it up. But if anything, I'll just post about it on in the description of this episode. But yeah, we'll be talking with Antonia. It's an interview from a couple of months ago that we're going to post on here. So, but before we really get into everything, just first off, just want to thank 1776united.com. I know you're listening. I know you're hearing about it, because now I'm seeing people actually going on the site and purchasing. I don't know what you're purchasing. I don't get that much information. I just know that people are buying stuff, which I really appreciate that you like the stuff on there, and I will hope anyone who is listening to the show, I would probably say there's probably something for you there. So I guess, well, let me give you the code. So in case you're listening for the first time, so go to 1776united.com and get all sorts of patriotic gear, hats, mugs, shirts, all sorts of other accessories. So if you go to 1776united.com and you put in the code 76militia-trend chat, so 76 like 1776 and militia like a well-regulated militia dash trend chat, and you get 20% off on your purchase. So appreciate 1776 for supporting us, and yeah, so definitely want to give them a shout out. So now, I don't want to come across as very pessimistic, but I feel like it's gonna sound that way, but it's just, I guess in a way, that's just honestly how I feel, because like I said, here we are, 2019, and like I mentioned in the beginning, you see about people in Hong Kong who are out here fighting for civil liberties and fighting against China and what they're trying to do to their people. And here we are over here, basically we're trying to embrace the things that they're protesting against. And the people in Hong Kong are out there waving American flags, and are out there, they're seeing America as, as what it's supposed to be, as a shining example of freedom and liberty. And they want that, and that's what they're protesting, to have there in Hong Kong. And yeah, here we are turning around and just, well, I guess the reason why I'm saying this, because you see the acceptance of socialism over here. It's rising, right? You're having more and more people who are more comfortable with wanting socialism in this country, to the point to where, 10 years ago, people running for public office couldn't just come out and say, "Hey, I'm a socialist," or the fancy term they want to call a democratic socialist or whatever. That was, that wasn't even something to be considered, because no one would vote for a socialist back then. Especially we talk about back in 2001, that was not even fathomable. But here we are. Now we have people who are out there and saying that they're socialists. Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and a number of people out there who are just out front saying, "Hey, we're socialists now." So and it is growing, as far as whether among young people or just in general. And So with seeing that, and also you can hear about or just notice how more and more of the people are accepting infringements on our rights, as far as whether it's, the First Amendment or the Second Amendment, or, kind of think about where, especially about, talking about the Second Amendment, where there are poll after poll. Man, I know when you mention polls, sometimes people want to, disregard, like, well, the polls can be wrong, or they don't really say what real America is feeling, which, okay, that could be true, but you can see it all over on social media. And so it is a growing sentiment amongst, I would say it's getting close to a majority of people. And the thing, we think about where, whether it is the First or Second Amendment, right? Or just our Bill of Rights or whatever, it doesn't take like 75% of Americans, or it doesn't take a large majority for all of this to change, for America to turn into something where we won't recognize. It doesn't take, all it takes is 51%. It's really all it takes. And we're getting there. It's creeping up, and I don't see it going down, because whether it's a mass shooting or any sort of, gun violence that happens with every story that comes out, the number creeps up more and more, because you have the media who are ferociously anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment especially, and they're going to take advantage of every one of those tragedies to keep pushing that anti-gun agenda, to the point to where, like I said, I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm not saying like this is going to happen tomorrow, but if you got polls that are out here showing a steady increase of people who are accepting certain infringements, whether it is red flag laws, or whether it is what they think of universal background checks, or even a gun registry, and on and on. All of these numbers are just steadily ticking up, little by little. And yeah, so who knows how long it'll be before you just get enough. Like I said, all you need is 51%. 51% of people who vote for a radical anti-gun, politician, and you vote enough in to public office, and then they propose those laws, and there you go. That's all you need. And so, like I said, I guess hearing this kind of, if you're listening to this, it's very pessimistic kind of outcome that I'm mentioning right now. But it just I'm just looking at all of this, and it doesn't look good. I would hope maybe that people would find, I don't know. I would hope people would see that they shouldn't have their dependence on the government. But I mean, we're talking about over 100 years of steadily government dependence and growing in our lives. So why would it stop at the Second Amendment? And so I don't know. It's I guess with the whole everything with 9/11 and just looking back at that, and then like I said, this being 9/12 as we were recording this, and just seeing how it's all pretty much night and day from that 9/12 to this one right now. And so I guess it kind of got me in a bit of a pessimistic mood. So again, saying that, like I see another story where just particular, I guess focusing on one party in particular, there's a poll saying that a quarter of Democrats think that it should be illegal to be in the NRA. Illegal. And yeah, like I said, this is just focused on the Democrats, but can you imagine that number decreasing? It's only going to increase. It's only going to get worse, especially when you got cities like San Francisco basically have called the NRA a domestic terrorist organization. And other cities are going to follow with that. We're recording here at home, here in Dallas, and would not be shocked that Austin will be the next one or close to it soon that would do the same thing. And so yeah, just stuff like that. Now, the steady and constant assault on the Second Amendment is, it's ever growing, and just it's nonstop. And I don't know, or we're gonna get to the point to where we finally turn and we're we'll stop this and people will actually appreciate their freedoms. But I don't know. But I want to get off of this kind of sad mood of this and kind of liven it up a little bit, but really I'm not. I'm a little bit, but it's still, anyway, you'll get what I'm talking about.
Politics and other stuff, maybe. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
Hey everyone, this is Lucia Scaramacchia, and you are listening to Trend Chat.
Hello to fans of Trend Chat and Brian Bledsoe. The Founding Project, an education nonprofit dedicated to civics, invites you to visit our brand new website. Visit us at thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with The Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
So yesterday, on 9/11, I guess with all the, there was plenty of ceremonies and plenty of remembrance, as I mentioned before. And one thing that I came across is a tweet from the New York Times, which honestly, at first, I didn't catch the first tweet, but I heard so much about it, and where I kept looking it up to make sure that they actually said this, and found out that they did. That they actually tweeted this, and I was, it was like I said, it speaks to what I mentioned before in a little bit, I guess. But so, if you don't know, New York Times tweeted at first, because first I need to say this because they did delete it, and they did mention that they deleted it, but you're not going to find the tweet on their Twitter page anymore. But in talking about 9/11, New York Times tweeted that on 9/11, this is when airplanes crashed into the Twin Towers. That's how they explained it. They made it seem like an airplane just took off on its own and crashed into the Twin Towers. That is how their tweet. They didn't mention anything about terrorists or anything, or that is being a terrorist attack. Any of that. They didn't mention. They just said airplanes crashed into the building. And okay, on one sense, maybe you could kind of understand where they were coming from. Not really. I mean, if a liberal want to, I can hear a liberal trying to explain that. But given what the New York Times are, given how liberal they are, it definitely is. It speaks more of how they don't want to talk about who really did it, and they don't want to talk about Muslims, and as far as Muslim extremists took over the planes and directed it to hit the Twin Towers. They didn't. It's like they definitely wanted to, and I guess in a sense, as opposed to never forget, they want you to forget that particular part and just talk about the plane. And so, on another sense, I'm not surprised, because these are the same sort of people, kind of going back to the gun issue. Like, these are the same people who want to blame guns for all the mass shootings and everything that's going on, as opposed to blaming the people who are pulling the trigger. So I'm not really surprised. So they're so stuck on how inanimate objects like guns just hop up and just start shooting. And so if they take that thinking to airplanes, I guess in their mind, airplanes just take off on their own. So now, like I said, it's not so much funny. I mean, it's telling, because like I said, they did delete that tweet, and then they put out another tweet, and then to clarify, but in the tweet that you will see now, it will be talking about it was a terrorist attack. And so, but in a sense, it was funny, but it's not that funny, because it's coming from the supposed newspaper of record. And so I don't know how that works, but as far as tweets go, is that really considered record from the New York Times or not? I don't know. Anyway, but that would just, to see that on top of, I mean, obviously you had people out there who were wanting to talk about 9/11 in the sense of, I mean, there was something from CNN where they were saying that right-wing terrorists are worse than the terrorists in 9/11. So I mean, yeah, you had all that sort of trash going on, and it happens every year. So it's, even though it's a very small section of people who are doing that, but that being said, kind of going back and talking about 9/12 in a way, and because I know for me personally, as far as 9/11 goes, I mean, I think I mentioned it in previous years. Just I was at home in Alabama, at my parents' house at that time, because I was 21, and I was watching it on TV, and I had a friend that was up in DC that week, and he was supposed to be going to the Pentagon that morning, because we talked the night before, and he was saying that he was going to go visit the Pentagon because one of our friends worked there, and he was going to go visit. And so when I saw it on TV, I was trying to get in touch with him, couldn't get him, and it was just, I'm wondering, did he go, and what's going on? And I'm steady calling, and wasn't getting him for a long time. And then I finally got in contact with him, and look, turned to find out. So like I said, I'm 21, so we about the same age. So, and we play video games. So, and my friend, and was up all night. Like I remember this. It was a NCAA, college football, and he was up all night playing that game. Like always. I mean, it wasn't abnormal. Like we always used to play that, and be up in the early in the morning playing it. And so that morning or that night, he was just playing it as usual, and just decided that he was going to go later on as opposed to go in the morning like he was going to go. And so thankfully, because of that, he didn't go to the Pentagon because he slept in because he was just going to go in the afternoon. And so that being said, obviously he didn't go, and I think he didn't even know a thing about what was going on because I was calling him, and the reason why I wasn't getting in contact because he was asleep. And so, if I'm not mistaken, I think I was the one who told him what was going on because I'm frantically calling him, trying to get him. So yeah, that was what happened. How I remember 9/11 from personally at least, and but yeah, and like I said, going into now, as far as how we all came together as a country in 9/12, but it's yeah. Hopefully, I said hopefully, but again, I don't want to keep harping on this because this really is really is kind of pessimistic to mention it, but unfortunately, it feels like the only way we come together is through like a catastrophic tragedy. Tragedy. Forgive me, it's very early in the morning trying to speak, but and also given the fact that and some of this remembering of it is bringing back memories as well. But as I mentioned, I think in the on the Chad Prather episode that I was on, it's unfortunate that we need those catastrophic events to happen for us to come together. But hopefully we can come together without that. That's my hope. I really would hope. I mean, I may not think it would happen, but I would hope for the best for this country that we could do that. But we're going to get to our interview with Antonia. Like I said, this was a couple of months ago. And so, actually in this interview, we talked about red flag laws before. I mean, it was known back then, but even before the shootings in El Paso and Dayton and Odessa, and so she brought that up in our interview. So we'll talk about that, and also what's new with her and Empowered. So we'll get to that after a word from Politichicks.
Is Trend Chat.
Hello, this is Brian Bledsoe, host of Trend Chat, also contributor at Politichicks.com. Here to tell you about the new book called Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, with over 300 pages from contributors like myself, talking about topics such as education, social issues, healthcare, the Second Amendment, and of course, activism. I encourage you all to check it out at Politichicks.com, and is also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are very pleased to have a returning guest. Finally, we get a chance to have Antonia Okafor with us. She is the founder of Empowered, and now a TPUSA ambassador, and on and on and on. I really can't list it all because we only have a couple of minutes. But how you doing?
I'm doing well. So good to have another interview with you. It's been a while, I know.
Well, what's new with Empowered?
Oh man, so we've been building our state chair program. So we have, of the 50 states, we have 35 girls who are going to be heading up each state and basically being the gun rights activists for their state. So we're going to have a conference, our first ever conference in January in Dallas, of course, because this is the gun, the pro-gun area, and it's fitting because, my idea for Empowered came from going to the Turning Point Young Women's Leadership Summit, seeing other conservative young women who are hungry to be more involved in the gun rights movement. So I'm really excited to have that launch and keep progressing with Empowered. So yeah.
With the conference coming up and also with the other things that are going on. So you said the conference is in January, and it's going to be here in Dallas.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you have moved out of the state of Texas, and first off, congratulations. But I guess let everyone know, why you left the great state of Texas.
Man, I would never leave the great state of Texas unless I had a really profound reason, and this profound reason is that I'm getting married to a Coloradan. He's actually a native Texan. He's actually from Houston. That's actually we're getting married back here in Texas to at least have a Texas root that we got married here, not Colorado. But yeah, I moved there to be with my fiance, and then I'm going to be, over there for the time being. He is a pastor, and he's going through the ordination process, and he's a church planner, so that's what we're going to be doing as well. So yeah.
Well, again, congratulations. And now, one thing I did mention is that you are a TPUSA ambassador.
Yes.
First off, what is that?
Yeah, so TPUSA ambassador is basically people who already have a strong following. People are listening to them. They have a strong message, but they're also aligned really well with the TPUSA mission and movement. And so TPUSA is really, spearheading this. Let's all, we're a conservative movement. We need to show that we're all in this together and bring everybody together under one roof to spread the message, but also spread our message that we have individually. And that goes across the gamut. So mine obviously is the gun rights issues. People who are really big on abortion. There are people big on a lot of different issues that pertains to the conservative movement, but unified under one umbrella. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. We're doing a lot of it's going to keep progressing and it's moving, but I'm really excited to see what we're going to be doing in the future as well. I know we're going to be doing more retreats and more events together, so just be looking out for more influencers to be at TPSA conferences in the future.
Yeah, so we're here at the Young Women's Leadership Summit, actually, here in Dallas, Texas. Yeah. And so, I guess, describe the environment and how things have been going so far.
Oh, I love the energy. This is my 4th year at Young Women's Leadership Summit. Actually, the first time I was here was as just a regular attendee. A little older than the student. I was a graduate student, but that's kind of when I started my Campus Carry activism journey. Shortly after, I did NRA and stuff like that, but I've been here ever since, and every year it gives me energy, it gives me hope, it refocuses me and makes me realize why Empowered is so needed, and it's just great to talk to these young women and be able to talk to them about conservative values and why they're excited about it, and just the energy that they bring to this movement is so important. So yeah, love it here. And
so I guess the main thing for you, especially when it comes to Campus Carry and being, I guess, one of the most influential when it comes to the Second Amendment as far as advocating for, the right to bear arms. Other than Empowered, what other things are you, I guess, getting involved with as far as trying to, really get that message out?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, and that announcement might come out later on.
We can't get the exclusive right now?
No, we can't get the exclusive. But it's definitely part of the movement, pushing the movement forward, especially going into 2020 and how the country's going to look like, after that. So, So there's a lot of things going on. Getting married is just by that self is a big thing, but
You're running for office, ain't you? Go ahead, tell us.
I'm gonna what?
You're running for office, aren't you?
Oh no, I am not running for office. I will tell you that too. I know 2020 you hear like office, so no, I'm not running for office right now. But that is definitely something I've been looking into, especially being in Colorado. Man, even on the state level, I mean, leaving Texas and seeing what happened with the Texas legislature this session has been a wake-up call. Well, maybe more a wake-up call for other people, because I've been the one who's been yelling and screaming, like, you guys need to pay attention. You guys cannot be complacent. You're not going to be a red state forever by just, thinking everything's going to be dandy because you're a red state. California used to be a red state, okay?
I mean, Texas used to be a blue state. And
that is true.
It's not that far in the past. So
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know why people think that, this is just going to be red all for the rest of eternity. I don't know why. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's a good. I know you were so right. That is so true. It used to be a blue state, and that was actually Rick Perry. He was a Democrat, a Texas Democrat, before he switched in the beginning of his career. And Rick Perry is pretty young, so people probably still remember. The majority of Texans still remember when Texas was a blue state, and we don't see the blue dog Democrats anymore. So that's going away. It's to be honest, right now we are dealing with being anti-socialists. We are again bringing socialism is again something that we have to fight, and it's going to be fought this time. Hopefully not through a war, but through the cultural war. And that's why TPUSA is so important, is that they're fighting against that. So, yeah, we need to bring that back.
So, well, given that you are out in Colorado now, I guess my last question is, being over in, leaving from Texas, being in Colorado, I guess the difference is, you could think of a number of them, but I guess how is it compared to being in Texas, being out in Colorado?
Yeah, well, obviously the people being again in Texas, at least you can have your NRA sticker, you can have your whatever, and you're pretty safe. But here or in Colorado rather, it's a whole different ballgame. Actually, I've been in Boulder County for a while, switching to Weld County soon, so that's going to be good. Weld County is actually, if people don't know, is where the sheriff actually implemented a sanctuary, a Second Amendment sanctuary county, basically. So it's protected from this god-awful red flag law that they put into place in Colorado, which for those who don't know about the red flag law is basically through the judicial process of allowing someone, a family member, a friend, to phone in and say this person is a danger to themselves or other people, and not with due process, because you're not going into there for a crime that you actually committed, or even something that they actually think you have a crime you committed, just thinking that you might be a danger, seems like you might be a danger to yourself or someone else, then they can temporarily, which is at least for a year, take your firearm away because you're deemed a danger because someone else thinks that way. So that is a dangerous spot we are in gun rights right now. To be honest, it's going state by state. Colorado's not the only one who's pushed that. It's also not only pushed by Democrats. A lot of Republicans are pushing that right now too. So that's why I've always been adamant about speaking out. It comes down to the gun rights issue, and unfortunately, some people are not principled, and if you're not looking at what your values are, then a lot of the times you're going to make decisions that are against not only your party, it shouldn't only be about parties, but being against your principles, but being against really what's best for America. And it comes to the Second Amendment, what is actually the fabric of our founding is a constitution. So you're going against the Second Amendment, you're going against America in general. So it's important to always be consistent with that.
I guess for context, for people that don't know, especially in Colorado, like Boulder County, so in Texas it would be kind of like Austin.
Yeah.
So that's the context.
Yeah.
So that's how Boulder is, because Boulder basically that's where University of Colorado is.
Yeah.
Right?
Boulder,
if you want that context, that's where you go from. So, but also, I guess before we go, You have a podcast as well that you started as well. So tell us about that.
Yes. So Nina Priva, she's actually here somewhere with me. She is the co-host with me of a video podcast that we're doing right now on YouTube called Trigger Warning 2A. And we actually had an incident a couple months ago with YouTube that decided to not only demonetize just one video, no, they just went straight up into, we're going to demonetize your entire channel. It actually was after we uploaded a video with an interview with Amy Robbins of Alexo Athletica, and literally all we were talking about was female empowerment and gun rights. But that's where you're crossing the line. You can't talk about those two things. You can talk about those two things, but especially not together. Definitely not together. So got an email from YouTube saying that we thoroughly looked through your channel and that we had this policy team. I mean, they really went like way extra on it, saying that trust us, we went through your stuff and we decided that, with heavy hearts, we're going to demonetize your channel. Thankfully,
I would say just like kind of what's been going on with Steven Crowder recently.
Oh, yes. I know. To be honest, it's the exact same thing as Steven Crowder. Right now we don't have 4 million subscribers, so that's why he has a bigger, push right now, and that's a good thing because it has to happen because I think YouTube is starting to do that now. That whole thing could be a whole nother episode, but Donald Trump Jr. He actually saw me at the NRA convention. We talked about it, and he tweeted about it afterwards, basically calling them out on the ridiculousness. Breitbart, which I'm very thankful for, the ones who covered it, and they really pushed that. They even, reached out to YouTube, and YouTube told them that they said it was a mistake. Oh my goodness, it's a mistake, and we're going to change that. They never told me. They never contacted me, emailed me, or anything. They were sure to email me when they demonetized my channel, but they didn't email me, so I found it out through Breitbart, who covered it. But I'm thankful, and it also goes to show that I had the resources, I had the connections. Actually, it was Dave Rubin. I sent it to Dave Rubin at first, and he's the one who was like, nah, we're not letting this go. And so he tweeted that out, and I had other people in this movement who have big followings who were able to spread the message. But it just made me realize how, I'm going to say this word, privileged I am, okay? Privileged I am that I have that opportunity to be able to talk to people who have big platforms. So people listen to them, but there are a lot of people who this stuff happens to all the time, and they're conservatives and they have a message and they're not able to get their message out because of things like that, and they don't have the platforms to be able to be loud, to change people's minds or change a YouTube mind. So it's important that we continue to fight against this and not make it just a conservative issue. It really should be a free speech issue. It's a First Amendment issue, and it's sad to see these liberals, quote-unquote liberals, classical liberals, who would have probably thought, probably not these people, clear leftists, but the classical liberal movement started in Berkeley and was also to incorporate free speech for all. And those same people now are, unfortunately, against free speech because it's not something that actually is something they believe in. It should be something I hope that we as conservatives will finally, once and for all, say that speech, even if I don't agree with you, is allowed here in America. And we don't have free speech or the First Amendment to discuss the weather. We have the First Amendment to discuss hard issues and hard topics that people don't always want to hear. So hopefully this is going to change things.
Well, I hope so. So I guess if people want to find you on social media, where would they go? I mean, everyone's already following you anyway.
If you'd like to follow me personally and my antics on Twitter, the Twitter doesn't bring out the best of anyone. You can follow me at Antonia _Okafor, OKAF as in Frank, OR. You can also check out my website at AntoniaOkafor.com. But then Empowered, my baby Empowered, that is continuing to grow and getting people, and if you want to get involved as well, you can go to the website empowered2a.org, or you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at empowered_2a.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to having you on again sometime really soon.
Yes, not years from now, right? Yes, absolutely.
What's going on, y'all? This is Brandon Tatum. Make sure you go to Trend Chat, check it out, listen to it. One of the best shows that I've ever been on. So make sure you go check it out, man. God bless y'all.
Antonia, for joining us. So, also, just as you heard in the interview, and as I mentioned in the beginning, this was a couple of months ago. So, I would say congratulations again, because in that time she has gotten married now. So, and it's as we were talking about the red flag laws, as she mentioned, and that's just another thing that kind of is troubling, where that is another infringement, right? That to the Second Amendment, that not only are coming from Democrats, you have Republicans who are open to this as well. I mean, even here in Texas now, our lieutenant governor is tends to be he is, I guess, leaning towards embracing some of this, some of these infringements in particular. So, and as well as our own governor. So it's I get the fight for our Second Amendment rights is, for one, it's not the only one. I mean, all of them are under assault, really. They're people on the left, Democrats, are just basically wanting to do away with all the Bill of Rights, in a sense, or in the sense of wanting to pervert them in the way that they were intended. Because I guess if you would bring it up to them, like, no, we love the Constitution, and also given the fact that their interpretation of that it's a living Constitution, that it should be say basically what they want to say at that time, or how they feel at the time, as opposed to interpreting the Constitution basically like you interpret anything, really. You interpret it, especially if you're talking about, if you wrote something, you want someone to read it as how you wrote it. So unfortunately, they take that interpretation, open interpretation, to where the Constitution should basically just say what they how they feel, or want to basically change it without using the amendment process. Anyway, I don't want to go down that route, because we're here at the end. But but yeah, I appreciate Antonia coming on, and also want to mention about odgapparel.com. I really appreciate them supporting the podcast. So if you want to get whether it's hats or shirts or mugs or whatnot, check out odgapparel.com and put in the code TrendChat10. You get 10% off on whatever you see on the site. So, I want to be honest with you, listening. You who are listening right now to this podcast. Before we go, I want to be honest with you. I want your feedback. I mean, I always ask about this all the time anyway, but I really would like your feedback to this particular episode. And I'm going to do something that I'm guessing if people that do media or podcasts, you probably shouldn't do, but I want to be really honest about this. And I would love your feedback to anyone that's listening. I want to know, what do you think about this particular episode? Because here we are at the end right now, and I don't think this was my best episode, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being self-conscious about it, but or maybe I'm being too hard on myself. I don't know. But yeah, I would like to get some feedback on this. I feel like I don't know, something just didn't feel right to me as far as how, I don't know, maybe how I was speaking or whatever. I don't know. And like I said, I don't know why I'm even bringing this up here live on the podcast, but I want to know, because not only on that, but just the podcast in general. But like, share, and subscribe. And next week, I don't know who we're going to have on. But until next week, we'll chat with you later.